All right, I'm going to throw down here because
right,
we have trained you. We give you 8, or actually last year, 9 hours of content.
Yeah.
And you binge it all in a day.
No, I learned.
And it's like, give us time.
We are excited, ladies and gentlemen, to have in our studio actor David Harbour.
Thank you.
I'm so excited I said good afternoon when it's 9:20 in the morning.
There are a bunch of footlongs outside the studio, which is like the 9 in the morning footlong, though.
Yeah.
Do you know Pink's in Hollywood?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
That's them.
Are those from there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then bring me one. I mean, come on. It's still a hot dog.
Yeah, it's not it's classic breakfast fare, but it works. It's very good.
We never actually get breakfast food here. It's always like
It's
that.
always a
Really?
dinner thing,
Yeah.
but it all works.
And all that stuff.
We've been up since 3:45.
Yeah, exactly. So it is kind of dinner for you guys.
David, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I'm from White Plains, New York.
Know it well.
Yeah,
Yes.
do you know it?
I'm from New York, yeah.
Okay,
I know
Westchester County, like 45 minutes out from the city, suburban, very boring place to grow
But nice.
up.
If you work in the city, it's a nice area to be in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I couldn't stand it when I was growing up because it's like that suburban thing, and you're like 14 years old and all you want to do is act out. And so I would take that Metro North train down to New York, though.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like 15. And, back then you could do a lot worse things than you can nowadays. We could go to bars and I mean, they didn't have any of the rules they have nowadays.
So wasn't the creative arts that were driving you to the city? It was the party?
I would tell my parents that I was going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So yes, the arts were driving.
Yeah.
If my parents are listening.
Well, we're thrilled to have you in here.
Yeah.
We're massive
thanks.
Stranger Things fans, and we're also just massive fans of your body of work, which is just
thanks.
so much great stuff. And I think you've described yourself, or have been described, and I think you're the epitome of that guy for so long, who just is always, this guy's in it. This is going to be good. Yeah. And we have a sense that you've curated the things that you're in, and whether that's the truth or not, you just always end up in good stuff. And Stranger Things is just such a. No one could have figured this bizarre pop culture bank shot that took place.
Yes.
And that they went with, except for perhaps Winona Ryder.
Yeah,
Moderately known. And it just took off. So when you got the script for the first time, I understand it blew you away, but did you think you were going to get it? You couldn't have had an idea it would be what it has become.
No.
Yeah.
The complete opposite, to be honest. I mean, the first thing is you get the script, and I thought it was a really good script. And so my first thought was there's no way they're going to choose me to be like the male adult lead in this. They'll get somebody who's a star. And so I kind of blew off the audition a little bit. I mean, I do what I do, but there was a relaxation in the audition where it was like, those situations where you think like this will never happen. So I might as well just do what I want to do.
And that must help. That must help
it
in a way.
does because it makes you more relaxed. You have no expectations. You don't have a goal. You're just like doing what you do. And then I wound up getting it, and it was incredible. And then as we were shooting it, I remember around episode 4 or 5 having a bit of a breakdown and thinking, none of this works.
Really?
Really? Yeah. I mean, because I remember, Hopper's a really messy guy in many ways, like everything from his body to, his personality.
Well, the very first, my impression of your character was like, this guy's a douchebag because she comes and says, my kid is missing. And he's like, he's out running around or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be that guy.
Yeah.
He's more complex than that, and really cares. But you're right. He kind of had that really messy attitude about him, but he's the character morph. So initially you thought that wasn't going to translate?
Yeah, and so like around episode, I think it was 5 though, we were doing a scene and I'm neurotic and occasionally I'll ask people like, what'd you think? And I went up to my hair person, this woman, Sarah, who's a lovely person, but I was like, what do you think? And she just turned to me and just shook her head and she was like, I don't think it's going to work.
Wow.
And I was like, what? You mean the whole thing? She's like,
Thanks for the confidence.
But I understood where she's got. You're in a bubble down there, and you just have these days where you're like, what we're doing is stupid. Nobody's going to like it. And then before the show came out, there was no advertisements.
No.
And I couldn't get an interview like this on a popular radio show. Like, nobody wanted to talk to me about this show.
That was the beauty of it. I found out about it through word of mouth. And so it started to catch. And it was that. Now, this actually speaks to, you were a child of the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people remember all of this. It's at once a tribute to the work of Stephen King, and it's this pop culture maelstrom of things that are all pulled together and
Spielberg,
to Spielberg, and shot in a way that all the things that we love, but done in a great way. So there'd be no way to know it. But the fact that it did happen that way organically, I think, made it more firmly entrenched, and that's why we're rabid for season 3.
You and the Netflix season 1 marketing department apparently had the same thought, because that's what that's what they claimed was I don't know if that's just a way of getting out of spending any money on the show, but they claimed that was kind of their strategy, was to have people discover it. And I have to say, it is very gratifying. It was very gratifying to have it be something that wasn't hyped at all. And just to have people stumble across it on Netflix, and then the social media aspect of it. They just told their friends, and it was all over like Facebook and Twitter. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think in this world where everything is so hyped, it's nice to have ownership and discover something that almost feels like a little pearl you found in an oyster, like a surprise,
So let me ask you then, here's the conundrum now. Now it is a thing that's
I know, now we're talking about it. Oh, God.
But whereas season 2 is always, everyone's like going, okay, what season 2 kicked ass.
Yeah.
I know.
And it was.
Guess what happens in season 3?
Grabs the bed.
We jump the shark. No, it's my character gets on water skis.
Nice.
And literally
At one of the
jumps
top,
in.
and there's a great white shark in the lake.
All right.
Who knew?
Yeah.
In Hawkins Lake.
Are you wearing a leather jacket?
I am.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
It's amazing.
No, honestly, I just finished, because they just sent me, because they like to send the finished episodes to everyone else before me.
Right.
But that's just no. But they just sent me all the episodes. I just finished them last night.
Yeah.
Actually, and it is so damn good.
Yeah.
Wow. The trailer
It is
alone.
so damn good, and you like, the end is.
How does it end? What happens?
Okay, so here's what happens.
You're making up the story. Yeah. By the way, I would like to correct you on one little thing. Prior to this, the first season coming out, we totally would have had you on our show.
You're a liar.
No.
You are in some of our favorite things.
When the first trailer for Black Mass came out, and the dinner scene with you and Johnny Depp, and I'll just sort of leave it at that, because I know you wanted to hit on this, Steve.
Oh, no.
Like,
We're gonna go over all your stuff, because we're big fans. But yes, no, Casey's right. We were fans before Stranger Things. It just cements the adoration. But to that point, you go through these things. This has been your quantum leap.
Yes.
I mean, but you were that kind of guy. You were on Broadway and you working that whole deal. When you went in to I know you had an issue with working with kids initially, right? Because kids can be a liability, right?
Initially.
Because I find you've got to get the right. I'm so quick to hate a kid in a thing. if he's, you know what I'm saying? If he's
I do know
annoying,
what you mean. I know exactly.
You got to get a Haley Joel Osment. You got to get somebody who really gets it. These
and we
kids
got
are
like
great.
6 of them.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
And so they never. The old thing is never work with animals or kids.
Yeah. But you and I are the same age, right? So when I look at this
Are
cast,
you 75?
born in 75.
No, 1975. No.
So you were born on my brother's birthday in 1975.
Oh,
I
wow.
saw that. I turned 44 on the 4th of July. So
Wait.
Yeah.
I was born on your brother.
my brother was born in 73.
Oh, 73. I was like,
Don't try to
wow,
work it out.
2 months apart? Brother, how did that happen? Something with test tubes and cloning or something.
It's right out of Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the upside down.
You and I and Nick, actually, as a matter of fact, we're all contemporaries. So we grew up with the same movies. So there are movies that came out in the 80s that still work today that have kids in them because they were so good. The Goonies is one.
Yes.
Stand By Me is another one. Sandlot is another one that came a little bit later on.
Okay.
And so I like liking
E.T.
E.T. Yeah. As a matter of fact, E.T.
Yeah. Drew Barrymore, like a little tiny Drew Barrymore, amazing.
Right. So, and we had the creator of The Sandlot in here a couple of years ago, and he actually, I think they had a whole other cast of kids, and he was like, you know what, I need to get older kids to play younger because they weren't doing it right. And
yeah, interesting.
And so,
I mean, our kids are kind of all over the map. I think when we started, I think Millie was the youngest, and I think she was 11 years old, and then I think Caleb was the oldest, and I think he was maybe 14. So they do span a little bit, but in general, they are kind of aging with the show. Like Millie in particular is, she started out, she was 11 years old, and now she's what, like 14 or something.
She's a young woman now. It's a little weird to see, but it's natural.
Well, it's weird for you. It's just weird for Hopper, too. Yeah, it's like a nightmare.
I love that and to Preston's point about the character, this character, and I think I like complex, I like villains where you can sort of see why they are what they are, and they're not just, mustache twisting. And I like heroes that sometimes get pissed off and have luggage, and that's how Hopper came into the to the deal. The whole paternal aspect of him was not revealed, and it becomes revealed in an organic way. How much of your input helped create that genesis for Hopper?
I mean, they had an amazing character already created when I came in, but they also are very collaborative. So, I have ideas and I understand men that are broken and disappointed in life, and other people are disappointed in. So I had some insight into that.
Right.
And so, as we were developing him in the first season, and one of the fun things was as we developed him in the first season, and as we thought, we were all sort of neurotic, and we thought, well, this isn't going to have much of a life after this season. But we would sit around on set and just have fantasies about, like, what would be amazing? Like, if we could run this thing. Like, what could be cool? And I think that some of those discussions, especially in season one, one of the fun things was like, we really loved the character of Hopper, and we also really loved this character of 11. And we were like, there's clearly, like, he had a daughter who died, and so he has a lot of trauma around that. And she had a papa who was manipulative and who used her. Right. And so wouldn't it be great for these two characters to try to heal their trauma together and do it in a very chaotic way where they, they don't know what they're doing. Yeah,
season
so that
two was
led
that
into
process.
Season 2.
Yeah.
And, and then there's stuff that we're even responding to going into season 3. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
David, I loved you on Newsroom, and I love you in this, in Stranger Things, and they're very different roles.
Very different.
And the writing on, which is Aaron Sorkin's show on the Newsroom, it's so fast-paced, and so a lot of your characters build on the fast-paced nature of the entire show and how quickly the dialogue is delivered, whereas on Stranger Things, it's the spaces between the notes, right? It's a lot more drawn out, and you can be a much more subtle actor. Do you have a preference? Does it matter to you? Or do you just like to work when the work is good?
No, I mean, I do feel like with the Newsroom stuff, like, I feel like the gestalt, like the larger piece, is very good, but as a component in it, you don't have a lot of freedom to do. You don't have a lot of ownership in a weird way. And so with Stranger Things, there's a lot more ownership. I mean, you get to explore a lot more behavior. A lot of times, like, Sorkin's stuff and a Newsroom is very much about the point you're making, on the page. Whereas with Stranger Things, you may say something and mean something entirely different, or you may say something and then behave entirely different.
And there are these pauses and these drawn out things, especially with your character.
I love that. I love the way your character is like, you take a lot of time. Like, what's up with you? Why?
Yeah.
It's compelling,
you get drawn in as a result.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's my whole thing with acting has always been that, a lot of it human behavior is always very complex, and sometimes, a lot of times, I think people say something that, and then they behave entirely differently. And that's sort of how I've seen the world since I was a kid, is I've always been confused by human beings, because they would say things like, I love you. And you'd be like, I don't think you do. I think you want me to stay, or I don't know what you want, but you don't just love me. So that's always the complicated thing that I want to explore with human beings. And I think that the great thing about the Duffers is they really love actors. They really love, what we bring to it, and they really want, so they'll have something in their mind that's very specific, and then we'll come in and mess it up, and they'll be like, this is even better than and that sort of collaboration is what you're always looking for.
You mentioned taking a lot of time. Netflix took a long time to get this next season back. And I was curious what you, how you feel about that as an actor.
Listen, here's the problem, all right? It's not a problem. It's a problem with you guys. I swear, it is a problem with the world, okay? Because we have, all right, I'm going to throw down here, because we have trained you. We give you 8, or actually last year, 9 hours of content.
Yeah.
And you binge it all in a day.
No, I learned.
And it's like, give us time. Take your time. Once every 2 months is when you should be watching an episode.
No, it's crack.
Look,
it's
I
crack.
know. For me too. I mean, sorry.
No. And as soon as it's over, you're like, when's the next one coming out? Like, after the first day it comes out, you watch the whole season, and then you want to know when there's more.
And you'll see, you'll see as you watch this season. I mean, the problem is, I agree. I wish we could bring them out to you every couple months, But the problem is, and especially when you watch this season, if you really just watch each episode and you see the camera work, the story work, the production design, every single one of them is an hour-long movie.
That's been true of
the
whole series.
8 of them.
Yeah.
But eight movies in a year and a half is pretty good, compared to
Well, let me ask you, going to your film work, which you love, and Casey brought up Black Mass, and you've worked on the other side of the table from Johnny Depp, as menacing a Whitey Bulger as you could possibly imagine. And I was reading an interview with you where you say the performance it really works like when you legitimately, if you're supposed to hate somebody, if you actually sort of legitimately hate the person in that scene, that you can tell when someone's going, I'm going to pretend I hate you. So when Johnny Depp is looking across at you and he's delivering the secret recipe sequence, Are you kind of getting unnerved by that?
Yeah. I mean, there's very personal work going on. I'm terrified of Johnny Depp. I mean, who isn't? I mean, it's a funny thing. You meet people and you work with them almost immediately. That was Johnny and me. We just met that day and we just had that scene. But
no kidding.
That was your first scene with him that day?
Yeah, and that was actually my first scene in the movie.
Wow.
You sit down with a person, and so what I try to do is just get very personal with them early on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You try to really see what you get from this human being, and then what you can use. It's almost like you're there with another chef, and you guys just have ingredients spilled out, and you're like, okay, what am I going to use from you? You have this set of ingredients, I have this set of ingredients. What can we? And I mean, I do feel like the thing about acting is that when it's, and look, I do it sometimes, and sometimes I get scared of doing it, but when you bleed, other people feel it more, I think.
Right.
Ernest Hemingway has this great quote where he's like, writing is easy. You just sit at the typewriter and bleed. And it's true. When you actually are in the room, if you actually are hurt by someone, it registers as differently, viscerally, than if you're just sort of pretending.
Right.
And I think in that scene you had soy sauce and garlic ingredients in that, right?
Oh, man, you found out. I spilled the secret.
Can I ask you a question? Because
real quick, I just want to reset. It's David Harbour, if you're just tuning in. Stranger Things Season 3 coming up on Netflix July 4th.
With that particular movie, listen, you've been an actor for a long time. That's what you majored in college. You get into it because you love it. I assume that you didn't get into what you're doing now to receive awards and all that sort of stuff. However, with that movie, I felt like Johnny Depp should have at least been nominated for Best Actor in every single award show, and he wasn't.
Yeah,
and
I mean that stuff's all political, you know.
Okay.
You can see there are signs, and it's always been the case. For example, I always point to the fact that Paul Newman should have won for The Verdict, and they gave it to him for The Color of Money.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah,
and it's like, well, we screwed up, so here you go. So that's. I
think it's Pacino too, right? Like he was nominated, The Godfather, Godfather 2, like all these movies, and then they give it to him for A Scent of a Woman, which is like. Okay. But like it's
Those
no
weren't
Dog
good.
Day Afternoon. Like, come on. Like
No, you're right.
You're
Attica!
It was just on the other night. It
so
holds up.
good.
It's
I
still
love
great.
David, I wanted to go back to the kids on the set on Stranger Things. You're watching these kids grow up. They're great actors, yet they are they're going up into this world of a career. I'm wondering if you're just letting them do that, or do you occasionally have a little bit of advice you try to, by osmosis, kind of give to them?
Are you a parent?
I am. Yeah, I have 3. Yeah.
One of his sons is right behind us.
Yeah.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yep. Mhm.
Hey, do you listen to your dad? Oh, yeah. Yeah, whatever. Because you're in the room. Yeah, I know. It's like, of course, like, whatever. I mean, I actually don't have kids, so I have 6, or 7 if you include Joe Keery. But like little kids who I like adore and love, and of course I'm protective over them, and I want them. And I mean, it is a hard road, and especially nowadays with all the interaction with fans and stuff like that, and the fact that, there's a fickle light of fame and of people that like you. I mean, I look at professional sports players, and like, you have a bad season, and you got people in the stands going like, "You're a bum," and we have the same thing
now because of social media.
Exactly,
you're just eviscerated.
That's the thing, and I feel for these kids to be thrust in the limelight so quickly, and to be, they are beloved. And look, I hope that they never have a day of not being beloved. But I will say I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's possible for any human being. I mean, we go up and down. The world loves you. They hate you. I mean, it's just the nature of fortune, right? It's like a fickle wheel. It just spins. It just spins.
But you feel the hate more than you do the love for some reason.
Absolutely. It's so true, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you have to learn, though, my dad years ago just, he would say, always consider the source. Always consider the source. And when you do that, it helps mitigate and tamp down that stuff. But it's hard, though. Yeah. Because you get into this because as you said, you go to the hairdresser, how am I doing? And you don't want to hear it doesn't look like it's going well.
And you think that, I think because, we're on TV or whatever it is, like, I think it too. I mean, I've written things about people on Twitter, like celebrities and stuff, and you think that, like, those people are immune because they are so like, and then you're just like, no, like, I'm just a human being like anybody else. So if you come up and say like, you're the worst, like, it hurts. I mean,
you're like, I am.
Yeah, I
am the worst.
But it is true. Like the amount you can just rack up love, and it just scroll through that. Or the minute somebody goes like, I don't know, you're like
your hairdresser.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Well, like I tweeted out, OJ's on Twitter now, and I tweeted out. I did bring up the double murder thing, but I said he looked good. So I tried to.
Okay.
I still, even with OJ, I tried to do that.
Going back to Stranger Things, I love the concept of the town of Hawkins. It's very Stephen King-esque, like Castle Rock, where there's just this area that's concentrated. Weird things are happening all the time. You've also got this cast that's growing up. This could go on for quite a while. And only you and the guy, the people that are writing this show know whether it's a definitive end at the end of season 3. We don't know, but this train could keep riding for a while, couldn't
it?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Like a shaky witness, I'm gonna reach for the glass.
We know
Take a sip of coffee.
We know you got to run. Real quick question about Black Widow. You were indeed filming that.
No. Yes. I mean, I don't know if I'm filming right now.
Right.
But yes.
Okay.
We are shooting that movie. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure because reports and IMDb and
No.
you can't believe that stuff,
There's a lot of misinformation on that as well. But I will say that Kate Shortland is directing this movie Black Widow, which I am in, and it is incredible.
Awesome.
We love the subject matter,
Scarlett.
Yeah.
We're thrilled you're in it. We're huge fans of what you do, and it's just very intriguing. So
it's. I think it's really going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, and these Marvel guys are like, they're just the best in the business. Like Kevin Feige and these guys are just so good at what they do. So you really feel it on set too. It's like this real. These guys are just really good at telling stories.
They take something that could be lighter than air and really you just evaporate, and they make it something that has gravitas to it, which is amazing.
Exactly.
Stranger Things Season 3 is on Netflix July 4th. Dude, I'm really happy that you're like a super nice guy.
Oh, thanks.
That's always nice to find out.
Nice to talk to you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate
and
it.
enjoy the season. It's really, and I don't say this, I mean, I'm stand behind the hype. It's like, it's going to take your breath away.
Love it. Love
Excellent.
it.
All right, let's hear it for David Harbour, guys.
Thank you.